Okay, so Nat, Joe, Patty, and myself, we now have the bare bones minimum for our quorum.
Hi, Nat.
Good evening.
Evening all.
I know.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to start the meeting. According to my clock, it's 7:02. And this is the meeting of the Dartmouth Conservation Commission for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. And we're conducting this meeting remotely as a result of the governor on March 29, 2023, signing a further extension for the hybrid remote meeting options for municipalities. Governor extended that option until March 31, 2025. This is a public hearing which is accessible for live interactions. There's a raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen, hopefully, and if not, we've had folks just wave their hand. Once you're recognized, you'll be unmuted, and you can then speak to the issues that you want to on whatever topic we're on. I will point out that if you're listening and speaking, please keep yourself muted so it'll reduce the amount of background or ambient noise and let everyone hear more clearly what's being said. Our first items of business are administrative, and the first will be the approval of the minutes of the September 5, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second on the motion. Roll call vote. Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion. Oh, Jim's here.
Jim too.
Jim's here.
So Jim,
Yes.
yes. So that motion passes unanimously. The next item of business is the approval of the field trip reports of September 19, 2023. Can I have a motion to that?
moved.
Second.
We have a second on the motion. We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Jim, Patty.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm a yes. That passes
Yes.
unanimously. Yes, thank you, Jim. Our third administrative item is to receive the minutes of September 19, 2023. May I have a motion to that effect, please?
So
Uh,
moved.
We have
Second.
a second on that motion. We have a seconded motion before us. Roll call vote. Jim? Got a long delay here, Jim. All right, we'll come back to you. Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Jim, are we ready?
Yes.
Yes, a yes, and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. That concludes administrative. We're now going to field trip report. And the first is a request for a certificate of compliance on DEP file 15-2459 from Dawn and Stanley Stopka for work at map 8, lot 1. It's known as 892 Division Road. Mark, what's the recommendation of staff on this request?
Work has been completed in full conformance with the plan of record, and we are recommending the issuance of a complete certificate of compliance.
Yes.
Commissioners, any questions?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to grant a complete certificate of compliance for DEP file number 15-2459.
Have a
Second.
second on that motion? Second. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The second field trip report is also an extension, a request rather, for a certificate of compliance. It's on DEP file 15-1728 from Stephen Spiegel for work at map 87 lot 2 and 6. That's 238 Little River Road. Mark, staff's recommendation on this request.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a general comment for this request and the next one. You'll recall a few weeks back, we voted on a certificate of compliance for a seawall. Part of the same properties being sold. There were several open orders of conditions. We closed, open and expired. We closed one, there were two remaining, so those are those are represented by this item and the next item. Relative to the septic connection from the garage to the house, all was done in compliance with the plan. Staff is recommending a complete certificate of compliance.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, entertain a roll call vote on the commissioner's motion. Well, let's get the motion first.
Make a motion for a complete certificate of compliance for DEP file number 15-1728.
Have a second on that motion.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and Jim.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. The companion is also our number 3 field trip report, request for a certificate of compliance on DEP file 15-2111 from Stephen Spiegel for work at map 87, lot 2 and 6, and that's 238 Little River Road. Mark, staff's recommendation on this request.
Yes, this is a project, some revetment work and bank stabilization on the inlets, the outlet stream from the cow yards through the property. Staff has reviewed the plans, reviewed the site, and makes a recommendation for a complete certificate of compliance.
Thank you. Any questions from any commissioner? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion for a complete certificate of compliance for DEP file number 15-2111.
Do I have a second on that motion, please?
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. The 4th field trip report is an extension permit request on DEP file 15-2388 from 4 Kings LLC for work at map 137, lot 136. That's on Milton Street. Mark, what's staff's recommendation for this request?
Yes, the commission issued an order of conditions to construct a duplex home. There was one extension that was issued, but that got caught up in the tolling provisions for COVID. This is a second extension, and staff is recommending a 3-year extension on this to October 7th of 2020, excuse me, October 3rd of 2026. And I should note that we've done several extensions on this, and this was caught up in tolling. This is going to be 10 years or greater. It is a stream bank, but the commission should consider that this might be the last one, but that is for you to determine. Typically 10 years is a long time, even for a pretty stable stream bank. But given the circumstances of COVID, staff feels it's appropriate to extend another 3 years.
Very good. Are there any questions by any commissioner? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to grant the extension permit request, file number 15-2388, and to make the extension good until October 3rd, 2026.
We have a motion on the floor. Do you have a second, please?
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. The 5th field trip report is also an extension permit request, and this is on file 15-2148 from James Sherrier, 508 Fawns Corner Realty LLC for the, excuse me, the ORAD at map 68 lots 2 and 5, and that's 508 Fawns Corner Road. Mark, what's staff's recommendation for this request?
Well, this is a an ORAD that was issued back in 2012. The first extension was granted to 2015. Another extension was granted to 2022, again, getting caught up in COVID. There was the COVID tolling issue. So staff is looking at this. It's an undeveloped lot. These are streams and a vegetated wetland. Again, I would urge the commission to issue this extension to February 24th, 2025. And we should consider this to be the last extension, given that it's a delineated wetland and not a topographic situation. It should probably be delineated and reevaluated at that time.
Thank you, Mark. Do any commissioners have a question? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I have one
Oh,
question. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I have one question. Mark, would a delineation and a reevaluation on February 24th, 2025 be included in this motion?
Excuse me, May 24th, 2025, not February.
Okay, thank you for
I
that.
may have misspoke before. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Thank you for the clarification. Could be my fault. But my question is, should it be the redelineation and reevaluation of this be included in this extension permit motion?
I gotta be honest, I don't think that would be appropriate because
I don't either.
if we're gonna say we're not gonna grant any further extensions, then if the work isn't been completed,
Yeah,
they're
okay,
gonna have to come back with a new request for this ORAD. And then they'll have to do a new delineation to get that, et cetera, et cetera. So
okay. I
we
just
need
wanted to double check.
specify that, but
I'm only referencing it so it's in the minutes.
Got it. Thank you.
Procedurally, it has to be taken care of, however the procedure requires.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure I was reading that properly.
okay. So can we have a motion to that effect?
Make a motion for an extension permit for DEP file number 2148, which will be until May 24th of 2025.
We have a second on that motion, please?
Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
Nat,
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. Our sixth and final field trip report is a request for determination of applicability from the town of Dartmouth for the roadway improvements in the buffer zone to a beach, the buffer zone to a salt marsh, and in land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's on land described as map 117, lot 191. It's on Day, Gladys, Hill, Prospect, and Water Streets, as well as Seaward Lane. I entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So
so
moved.
moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Mark, what is the recommendation of staff for this request?
Yes, this is typical roadway maintenance and stormwater improvements in accordance with the stormwater bylaw. It's all work on pre-existing developed area. It's the milling of roadway, installation of new curbing, new catch basins and the like. The only resource area that is directly affected is land subject to coastal storm flowage. There are no performance standards for that particular resource area. Everything else is in developed buffer zone. So staff is recommending the issuance of a -2 determination with our standard erosion control conditions to protect the down gradient wetland resources.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have a question? Comment? Seeing none, that will now be appropriate for a motion to be presented.
make a motion for a -2 determination with standard erosion control conditions as described by Mr. Garrett for this project.
Have a second on the motion that's before us.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, that passes unanimously. I was wondering if there was hesitation here. You had something wrong with this motion. So we're moving on now to our public hearings portion of the meeting and our first. And this is one of three. So the first three are, excuse me, somewhat interrelated. They are independent, but somewhat interrelated. So I will read the first, and then after I read it, I'm going to make a statement. So as a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2659. It's on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC for a single-family dwelling and a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland on land described as map 138, lot 144. It's on Potter Street. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Move.
Second.
Second.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
that was quick. Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Now, the comment I was going to make is we may as well do the entire presentation on this particular public hearing. So a lot of the comments are going to be applicable to the second and third matter. And I don't think it would be in everyone's interest to repeat what's said in this particular public hearing again, except to say those same issues are applicable. If anyone disagrees with that, I'm more than happy to hear about it, but I'm just trying to speed along the next two.
I think that's wise.
Okay, I don't see any of it. All righty. So on behalf of the applicant this evening,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Christian Fallon, Principal Engineer and President of Fallon Corp., also the applicant in this case. I do want to let the commission know, I would have loved to give the results of the original test pits information over to the commission a lot earlier. But as you know, this is a very complicated site. I don't own the site. And in order to release that information, we had to get the owner to okay that, because once this information is released out to the public, it's a public record, as you all know. And any information gets over to the DEP, Board of Health. It's if there's an issue with the site, any kind of environmental, then the owner may, be responsible for doing any kind of cleanup, even though he may not have been the one to do so. So it has taken quite some time to get the owner to allow us to release the information. So not only have we released the information, we've gone back out to the site and have done 7 more test pits. So all in all, we have 12 test pits scattered throughout the site. And information, I know you all received it late. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, this, wasn't all my doing. We had to go through the proper protocol to make sure that I'm protected. As given this information out, I needed to make sure that the owner was okay with it. And both attorneys have, we have a document to allow us to share this information. I know you haven't had enough time to review it. But I hope that you would allow another continuance for you, Mr. Garrett, to review the information, and also, more importantly, to send this information out to DEP so they can review it. Because ultimately, we're going to have to work with DEP to make sure everything that gets done here gets done by their regulations, as well as the Dartmouth bylaw as well. I have Mr. Marsh, my environmental attorney, on the meeting as well, if you have any questions for him. I also have my partner in this project, Tim Cusson on the call, who's familiar with the whole solar project himself. But I did want to give you guys the heads up. And I did receive Mark's email. I would have no problem re-notifying the abutters and paying for another legal ad to put this in the newspaper, as it has been quite some time. So I do ask that we've come this far with this project. I honestly do feel solar is the best use for this site. I hope the commission agrees and we can put this site behind us and do any necessary cleanup as possible, which would be an improvement to what currently exists there now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farland. Mark, your comments, although I think the request is fairly reasonable from my standpoint, with the caveat that Mr. Farland mentioned.
I would agree. I mean, I issued, a recommendation to you, to the commission, to deny this project since we had not gotten any updates. That was prior to, last evening. We did get some updates. I have not reviewed them. I don't know if they're comprehensive enough. I just don't know, and I would certainly be willing to, if the commission wanted to continue, I think that would be prudent. That would give me time to review and maybe engage Christian, any further discussions or any questions. Christian, Jim, we've spoken before. If Tim wanted to be part of that, that would be fine too. But I don't know what this new information says or doesn't say. And it wouldn't be appropriate for me to make any kind of recommendation beyond what I've already said, and would certainly support a continuance if that was what the commission wanted to do.
Thank you. Mark, I have a question for you. I know we're still waiting for the report from Gus Raposo. Do you have any idea of the timetable for that?
Well, I think that what has to happen, and I think in my email that I sent out today, I think it would be prudent for a couple of things to happen. I know Christian has indicated that the residential has been pulled from the proposal. That may be so. However, the notice of intent application still has that in his project. I think that the submission of edited pages, not a new notice of intent filing, but edited pages reflecting the new proposal is appropriate. I also think I've got a stack of plans associated with this project. I think I need a clean set of the current plans with all the information that we have on this site submitted to me electronically and via hard copy, and have a hard copy available for Gus. I know Gus submitted a memo that on the 25th of September. He was not prepared to sign off. He still said there were some unanswered questions. Some of those questions may have been answered in this new submittal. I do not know, but I think we need to get Gus all of that information all clean and ready to go. I thank Christian for acknowledging. I think that we do need to re-advertise and we do need to re-notify the abutters given the length of time that has taken place. And also, the acknowledgement that DEP is going to be involved in this at some level, given the complexity of the site. I have reached out to Solid Waste in Lakeville, and they have issued some guidance to us. I have afforded them the materials that we were sent last evening, should they want to further comment on that. So I think everybody who needs to know about what's out there knows. I just think we need a complete, clean set of records so we know exactly what we're dealing with, and we're not asking questions on outdated information or making assumptions that that new information is on the plans. I just think that would be appropriate. No new filing fees, no any of that, just new copy of everything.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any question or questions?
The only question I have is, how much time does the applicant need to get all of this done? Is it, seems as though there may be some outstanding questions that they might need to review and get taken care of if some of the information is not in the current submittal, the current information that was provided just in the last day or this morning, I guess, just to make sure that when you come back again, if we do continue this, that we can move forward and have all the information ready. Is a continuance of 2 weeks enough? Is it a month? That's my question. Given maybe some
Mr.
outstanding questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
You certainly may.
so as far as all the information goes, we could definitely compile the revised set of plans. We have all the information in-house and revising the notice of intent with, taking out the residential. That shouldn't take us long at all. So I would assume we should have everything to you by next Wednesday. The issue is if we have any, comments in regards to the report. If we have them in back by the end of next week, that should give us enough time to respond, to get on the next agenda. Mark, do you think that's fair?
Well, let me just introduce some information, Christian. We have 2 meetings in October, the next 2 meetings in October. The next one is Monday, the 16th, so we're bumping everything back a day. The reason for that is town meeting is on October 17th, and we cannot have a meeting the same night as town meeting. So we have rescheduled the 17th hearing for the 16th. And we have a subsequent hearing on October 31st, Halloween. The timing is in your lap. Like I said, I'm probably not going to even be able to look at the report until Thursday, possibly Friday that you sent last night. So, that's all I can tell you. I don't know what I'm going to find or what questions I may or may not have. So I'm not going to a date specific. It may be more prudent to go out to the 31st just to make sure, but that's your call. We have the 16th and the 31st of this month. So we'll deal with it. That's the best I can tell you right at the moment.
Yeah, I would say we'll get everything into you in regards to the, the revisions that we have. I'll make sure we get them into you by Friday. That way we can stake on that 16th agenda. I don't think my 7 kids will be happy if their file is out on a meeting on the 31st. So I'll push to get the information over to you by
If you
Friday.
want to get on the 16th, we're actually going to need stuff by next Wednesday, close of business. The 16th was a Monday. So we
Yep.
do Thursdays on, for Tuesdays. It would have to be Wednesdays to give the commission 5 days for a Monday.
Yeah. Actually, now I think about it, we won't have enough time for the legal ad or butters, will we? on
And
the
that's
16th?
true too, yeah. So
So maybe the first meeting in November?
if you want to push that back, I don't know the date specifically. I want to say. But let me check a calendar.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? That should give us plenty of time, Mark, even if you and I and Marsh and Gus have to meet to make sure we can hopefully maybe wrap this up on the next meeting. By
Okay,
the time we go back and
first-
forth.
the first meeting in November is going to be on the 14th. So we have the 16th of October, the 31st of October, and the 14th of November.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say the 14th of November if we can.
Okay,
that makes sense. I think that's a
That'll give
smart,
us- Plenty
a
of time.
smart call. I think that's a smart call. That way, it gives us a chance as well to get our comments back from Gus and whoever else we need to. So I think that's a good move. Commissioners, everyone satisfied? They have no questions they want to have answered tonight? Okay, anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this particular matter? Okay, by the way, we're now going to vote to continue on this matter. And there will be a new advertising and notification, excuse me. So you don't have to write it down, but it might not be a bad idea to write it down. I'll entertain a motion to continue this matter
So moved.
until the
Second.
first meeting in November, which is November 14, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Second.
We have a seconded motion, roll call vote. Joe? Joe? You're muted. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously. We're now
Thank
moving.
you. Have a good evening.
No, oh, we still got two more to go through, but
Oh, should I do two more?
you don't have
gotcha.
to stay for it, but we are going to go for the next two. The second one is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2660. It's on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC for a single-family dwelling and a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. It's on land which is map 138, lot 144-1. It's on Potter Street. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're not going to go through all of the same detail as we did with the first one, but I will now entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, November 14, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That's passed unanimously. And our third continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2658 on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC, proposing a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands on land described as map 138, lot 144-2. It's on Potter Street. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
That was
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, I'll now entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, November 14, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor, excuse me. Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Okay, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Good
night.
night. Mark, on our number 4, do we have a DEP file number for this?
We still have not gotten one.
Okay,
If
So
I,
even before I read it, I just want the applicant and the professional to know we cannot close that public hearing tonight because there is no file number. But we have a public hearing on the limited project notice of intent for ecological restoration by Joseph Carvalho, DBA JDC Property Management LLC for vegetation removal in the buffer zone to an inland bank, riverfront area and bordering land subject to flooding on land described as map 177, lot 19. It's otherwise known as 25 Tolan Path. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Have a second on that motion.
Second.
We have a seconded motion.
Second.
Roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Nat,
Yes.
Patty?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Pat. Yes,
Nope.
sorry.
I'm a yes, that passes unanimously. Okay, and on behalf of the applicant,
Rich Rayone, Prime Engineering, we're the new consultants on this project, which DP had not filed given a file number because it did not show wetland resource areas. It didn't show topography, and was lacking in other details. We've delineated the wetlands, shown all the water resources on the plan, and shown all of the topography, and generated a set of 4 plans. One of them just existing conditions. The second one, how to get erosion control in there to stabilize the site. And the third one, a program to hopefully permanently eradicate the knotweed. And the fourth one is a actual enhancement of the 25-foot buffer zone to the BVW, where we're planting wildflowers and a number of shrubs across that 25-foot no disturb. In that area, we're going to actually put a physical barrier, a weed barrier that allows water to drain through it, but doesn't allow the rhizomes of the Japanese knotweed to come up through it. So we think we're going to have that. In the area closest to the house, we're actually proposing to come with a backhoe and dig out the rhizomes and possibly have to remove all of the soil offsite if we can't get it all, and then plant a lawn. So there would be essentially a 25-foot lawn area, then a 25-foot vegetated buffer to the BVW, and then finally the BVW itself. So I think we've provided DEP with everything that they need, that they just haven't gotten around to issuing a file number. We're confident that it will be a file number by next meeting. So I think the only thing we can do is have further discussion tonight, but then continue it to your next meeting.
and you heard that our next meeting will be a Monday night, not a Tuesday night. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I also expect to come by your house with my grandchildren on Halloween, so.
Well, I'm not where I used to be, so if they go to my old house, they might be disappointed. It's some
Oh.
residents now.
I didn't realize you moved.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Mark, comments by staff?
Yeah, as you know, we talked about this last time, and I know that the commission was not terribly pleased with what was going on out there, but I did in fact inform them that South Coast Engineering was no longer on the project, that Prime had taken over the project, and to Prime's credit, I think they've done a very, very good job in evaluating the situation, getting the appropriate existing conditions together, and put together what I think is really a very prudent restoration plan that I think should work out very well. And it's also of a somewhat passive nature in that we're not talking about herbicides. We're not talking about digging really close to the river. There's ample erosion and sedimentation controls in place to protect the river. There is an ability to to stabilize the site over winter. And frankly, a mistake was made by the applicant in that and we warned them ahead of time that they had to do this right. They spent a fair amount of money to eradicate knotweed, and a lot of it's coming back. And it will serve to stabilize the bare ground that you saw. I've been out there, and Rich has shared some pictures. The knotweed is coming back, I would say aggressively. Fortunately, it's late in the growing season, so I don't think we're gonna have the big stand that we had. But it's gonna need to be recut and reharvested and moved away appropriately. But you know, the prime engineering proposal is to lay in filter fabric, which originally they had proposed plastic, but I thought that that was a little too impervious for the area, so they're using a permeable filter fabric to allow water to pass through to the ground as opposed to sheeting off the plastic and maybe taking the topsoil that they're putting in along with it to the river. So I think they've addressed several concerns. It's kind of been an iterative process between Prime and myself, but I think we're really close. And I think I think there's one minor change on the plans that I'd like to see. You know, we talk about entrenched hay bales and silt fence. I know that some of that can't happen given where we are, but I think that especially the upgradient silt fence and hay bales can be entrenched as we typically require. That would probably have to be modified on the detail, but I think everything else is very, very appropriate, and I can forward a you know, any revised plan. I think the strategy is a good strategy, and I support it completely.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone, any commissioner first, have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience tonight that wants to be heard tonight, understanding we're going to vote to continue? Okay, I've seen none. So, commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until our next public hearing, which is a Monday, not a Tuesday. So everyone be aware of that. So it's Monday, the 16th of October, 2023.
So moved.
Second,
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Nat,
yes.
Jim. Jim might be offline, and myself is yes. So that motion does pass unanimously.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We still have a quorum for those who are questioning. We have 4. Our 5th public hearing is a public hearing on DEP file 15-2700. It's an after the fact notice of intent from David Lamero for wetland restoration in the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland on land described as map 115 lot 9 -13. It's otherwise known as 27 Twin Ponds Drive. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded. Okay, roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Nat,
yeah,
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. On behalf of the applicant who's here this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Peter Cruz from Cab Engineering Solutions. Here to present the plan. Can I share my screen?
Please do.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, I
Yes.
can.
So just, nothing's changed from the last iteration or the last presentation 2 weeks ago. I think the only thing we were waiting on was the file number for the DEP. Just to go through it for anyone that's on the call that's new. We'll just go through the project. The project consists of restoring the buffer, the actual wetland area as shown on the, actually, this one's probably So the wetland restoration is about 990 square feet. This area, right now has been cleared of all wood piles, and, ready for the excavation of the fill that was placed in, this resource area. We also have the restoration of, about 1,830 square feet of the 25-foot buffer zone, in this area. Within the 25-foot buffer zone, there were a couple of trees that were, or about 10 trees or so that were cut down. We're proposing to, plant, 11 trees and I believe 30, 31, 30, shrubs, to restore the area. Once all the work is completed, we'll go back in and restore the retaining wall, the stone retaining wall to clearly demarcate the 25-foot here and to have no access to the back. We're proposing to install your wetland no disturbance signs, 3 of them along the stone retaining wall. I'm just wondering if Steve, you have anything else? I guess Stephen Schmiel on the call also. He's the wetland scientist. Do you have anything else you want to add, Steve, to the presentation?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Steve Schmiel. No, Peter, I think you covered it pretty well. I would also note that, during the removal of fill, we will initially install the erosion controls, work from a north to south orientation, and seed and stabilize that area as we pull back the material, as soon as we're satisfied with the extent of fill removal on site. So once this is a finished product, because we're nearing the end of the growing season, the whole site will be seeded with a winter rye mix as well as the Ernst mix, the wetland seed mix, and topped with chopped straw to add as a supplemental erosion control measure.
Very good. And Mark, comments from staff?
A couple of comments. Peter, can you go back to that previous plan that you were showing the shaded one? Everybody needs to understand that the original cause of this A1 observing the violation was because they wanted to install a pool, and you can see a pool on this particular plan shown right on the upgradient side of the stone wall, which exists now and will exist, after the restoration. Peter, if you could bounce back to the other plan. Okay, this is the plan for the restoration, which I completely accept. There's no question about this. I think I indicated that last time. I had some concerns, which, about the lateness of the plantings with regard to the growing season. But please note on this plan, if this becomes the plan of record, it does not have a pool illustrated on it. I don't know if the pool has been relocated out of jurisdiction or what have you, but nonetheless, there is no pool. So if this becomes the plan of record, they will have to amend to put the pool back in place. That's not to say it wouldn't be allowed, but as of this plan, there is no pool shown. And I think that is the prudent way to go, to issue an order on this plan, and then they can amend. Once this restoration is acceptable, it's in place, then they can go about asking for the pool as an amendment. Because if we delay this to wait for a revised plan, they're not planting this growing season. I don't care how good Steve is, and I know he's very good, but it's just not going to happen. I think you'd agree. So I just wanted to bring that up. The other thing that comes to mind is, I'm a little concerned with the introduction of winter rye in this case, Steve. I would much rather just have the straw laid down and, leave the winter rye out.
That's fine, we can do that. So the
Okay.
Ernst erosion control mix has a number of rye species in that as well, and that was proposed for the buffer zone areas.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, I just don't want you sowing, pure winter rye out there. Years ago, that became a problem, and I just don't want to see that here, and I don't think you need it. I think the straw will do just fine.
Sure.
So having said that, I am prepared, having reviewed the plan, and now that we have the file number, to issue a standard order of conditions referencing the latest plan, which is dated September 26th, 2023, with our standard restoration conditions moving forward.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any question?
I just have one.
Go right ahead.
It's a quick question. So I just want to, there really is no pool on this plan. Is that? an
No,
error?
that, yeah, I pulled up the wrong PDF. Good catch, Mark. The PDF that I should have grabbed had no pool. We did sit down with Mr. Garrett originally. We will be filing for the pool at a later date.
Okay,
This
Okay.
is just this is just to take care of the enforcement order that's on the applicant and restore the area prior to coming in front of you guys for the work related to the pool.
got it. Thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make sure we were
Yep.
not running through that too quickly and there was actually another drawing. Thank you for clarifying.
No problem.
I have no other questions.
Okay, any other commissioner? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to be heard on this matter? I don't see any. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second on
Second.
that? Okay, we have to go with a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
and I'm a yes, that motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, what's your pleasure on this request?
make a motion for standard order of conditions according to the plan submitted on September 26th, 2023, with the standard restoration conditions as outlined by Mr. Garrett.
We have a motion on the
Second.
floor. We have a seconded motion. We'll now go with a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You as well.
Good night.
Thank you, good night.
We're moving on to our sixth public hearing. It's a public hearing on DEP file 15-2701. It's on the notice of intent from the Patricia Ann Todd Trust for construction of a single-family dwelling in the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 28, lot 28-1, or it's on Russell's Mills Road. I entertain a motion to waive the reading.
so moved.
Move. Second.
Seconded motion on the floor, roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Nat?
Yeah.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
and I'm a yes, that motion passes unanimously. And on behalf of the applicant, do we have somebody here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Dave DeVigna from Schneider DeVigna Leone, representing the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and commission members.
Good evening.
Evening.
May I screen share?
You sure can.
So on behalf of the applicants, we filed a notice of intent. Like to start with just a little background on the property itself. This lot is 5.5 acres in size. It was cut out of a much larger tract, approximately a 30-acre parcel. I'll follow the lot lines here. It's basically rectangular in shape, and then it has this odd and funky way of gaining its frontage all the way back to Fisher Road. It was cut out of the property right here located by Russell's Mills Road, and it enjoys an easement through the property which it came from Russell's Mills Road. They are sharing a driveway. They have a right to come up the driveway and utilize the utilities to get onto the property. The remainder of that property is essentially was to create the lot frontage off of Fisher Road. And the remainder of the property, approximately 24 acres, was granted to or conveyed to the Lands Trust. So the next sheet I'm going to show you is an existing conditions plan based on a survey that we did. Oh, having trouble with my scales. There we go. So this is a 30 scale drawing, and the site has a majority of it is open field. This bubble line is the limits of wood, the edge of woods, and the limits of an existing field. There's a stone wall that runs along the south side of the property, and then it runs back all the way towards Russell's Mills Road. There is an offsite, not an offsite, but an on-site wetland system. It's a pond impoundment to the south of the stone wall, which connects then to another wetland system to the southwest. And within that system, there's an intermittent stream. This wetland shown was delineated through an A1 by the prior engineering company, which also did the percolation tests on the site. We took over the project and we performed topographical survey that you see on this property, as you see on this plan. So this is the proposed development plan. The proposal is to construct a 3-bedroom single-family home with an attached garage on the northerly side. So the buffer zone to the wetland system cuts through the house and right as you follow my cursor, and then curls back down. So this portion of the house is within the buffer zone. The remainder is not. There'll be a lot of cutting and filling, a lot of cutting in the rear of the site that's outside the buffer zone in order to utilize the material to place on the opposite side or the front side of the house. I think there's a good balance here of cut and fill. We don't have to bring in or truck in fill on the site. The soils are as good as they get. Percolation rates were less than 2 minutes per inch, and there was no groundwater encountered at a depth of, I think, greater than 10 feet in the location of the test pits. So therefore, what we take out of this hillside certainly can be used and transferred to the other side of the house. The driveway will come off the existing gravel driveway, which comes from Russell's Mills Road all the way down here. This exists today, and this driveway will take you to the rear of that 24-acre parcel of land. The proposal is to bring in a paved driveway that wraps and curls all the way around the house, actually curls to a point where it becomes out of the buffer zone to enter a rear entry of the garage. The septic system is sized for 3 bedrooms. It's located outside of the buffer zone. The leaching field is probably about 120 feet away from the wetland system. We do have municipal water available to us. There's a hydrant on the property down in this location, and we're bringing a water line along the stone wall and onto the property as we get to the front of the house. Electric will be brought in underground from existing handholds that exist at this location and run through outside of the buffer zone to the house. Primarily, the work will occur within the open field, working your way around the back. There will be some clearing of trees and vegetation coming down and following the driveway until you get back to the entrance that we're proposing. So we are proposing erosion control along between the driveway and the wetland system, which begins basically out in this location so that we can remove this area of rubble which would be opposite of where the driveway entrance would be. And the erosion control would come up and wrap all the way around to a point where it's almost out of the buffer zone. Board of Health has approved the plan. Well, they emailed me that they had no issues with the plan. It would be put forth to their next available Board of Health meeting. There were revisions made to the plan based upon comments from the BPW, and that was relative to showing a water service connection and some water service notes that they wanted on the plan. We do have a DEP file number. There were no comments. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vignan. Mark, I will turn it over to you. I'd like to hear staff's comments regarding this application.
Yeah, I think David covered it pretty well. We did review a delineated wetland line under an A1 years ago. I did. The wetland line is very accurate. It's very distinct. The 24-acre site that David is referring to is the former Fentress Paradise Farm site, which DNRT now holds under a conservation restriction. And the work that is proposed herein is largely in a pre-existing ag field with some overgrowth, as David spoke of. Most of the work in the buffer zone is the driveway in off the existing gravel road. It is an easy gravel road to drive in and out of. I've been in and out of it several times. The driveway, the regrading, and a portion of the house. So this is an estate lot. As David indicated, it's got kind of a funky shape. It does not front on Russell's Mills Road. It does in fact front on Fisher Road, and it's kind of a convoluted trail to get there. If you notice the locus maps that were passing by as David was locating this particular plan. And I really see no issues here relative to not approving. So staff is prepared to recommend to the commission issuing a standard order of conditions, obviously inclusive of our erosion and sedimentation control condition with entrenched and entrenched wattles or hay bales and silt fence in the locations that are depicted. One other thing I failed to mention is, and I think it's very key, wetlands are segregated from the proposed development by a stone wall. There is a very distinct demarcation between the two. So I think that it'll be very clear to the contractor. They're going to have to move stone walls to encroach on the wetlands, and I don't think they'll do that. So again, recommendation, standard order of conditions, emphasizing our standard erosion control as per the plan that you're looking at, which is dated September 13th, 2023.
Yes, go ahead, David.
Thank you. The revision is September 19th, 2020.
Is it 19th?
The original date is September 13th, but there is a revision date of 9/19.
Okay, I must have missed that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, does any commissioner have a question they'd like to pose to either staff or Mr. DeVignan? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this application? I don't see any. With that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Give a second on that motion?
Second.
Give a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Patty?
Yes,
And I'm a yes, that motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, what is your pleasure on this request?
make a motion for a standard order of conditions according to the revised plan submitted September 19th, 2023, with additional conditions as described by Mr. Garrett, including those of erosion and sedimentation control.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Well, we're now moving to the 7th public hearing. And it's our final public hearing for this evening. It's public hearing DEP file 15-2702. It's on the notice of intent from David Maderos for the relocation of the existing gravel driveway in the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 24, lot 14. It's also known as 523 Rockadundy Road. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And on behalf of the applicant, I think I see Mr. Haroon.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Good
For the
evening.
record, my name is Alan Haru, and this evening I'm representing David Medeiros, owner of Plat 24, Lot 14, 523 Rockadundy Road. He proposes to relocate the existing gravel driveway to the house and rear of the property to provide safer sight distances along Rockadundy Road. The record plan is entitled Site Plan Showing Proposed Relocated Driveway, dated September 15th, 2023. And if I could share my screen.
Yes, you may.
All right. Can you see that?
I can. It's pretty small, but I can see it.
Okay.
Alan, can you enlarge, no, don't zoom it in so much. Can you enlarge the window?
Yeah, like is there a way to make the
Up
whole
top,
window-
right side, maximize the window.
I can see.
The top bar, the blue bar next to the X, just to the left of the X.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, perfect. Now I can see it well.
Okay. All right. So the proposed work is in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland, which was delineated by David Pichette, wetlands consultant. And so the wetlands, this is Rockadundy Road. This is house number 523 and the existing driveway into the property and serving the existing house. And along this stretch of Rockadundy Road, just a little bit east of Gaffney Road, as you know, it's very curvilinear. And just immediately west of this driveway, there's a hill and a sharp curve. And people tend to come flying around that curve and over that hill. So by moving the driveway from this location further east, we're on the outside of this curve and we can see down this straightaway towards Bakerville Road, and we have a better, little more distance from the curve to the west. So the bordering vegetated wetland is this line here that was delineated by Dave Pichette. And so what we're proposing is a bituminous concrete apron here. And the rest of the driveway would be gravel from this bituminous concrete apron. This portion of the driveway would be gravel. We propose a cobblestone curb along the edge of the gravel driveway around this outside of the curve to a stone scupper. And then the stormwater runoff from the driveway would be directed into a grass swale with stone check dams. And if I can just show you this is a photograph of a stone grass swale with a stone check dam for a project that was approved earlier this evening, received a certificate of compliance, Lichen Lane. But this is what we're thinking of proposing to collect the stormwater runoff from the driveway and put it into this grass swale so it doesn't flow directly into the wetland. We propose a straw wattle silt fence erosion control barrier between the work area and the BVW. Right here is the erosion control barrier all along the edge of the work. And the existing driveway will be closed with a post and rail fence. The DEP file number is SE 15-2702. And I'd be happy to answer the commission's questions. And I'll stop sharing if you'd like.
Sure.
No, leave it up there, Alan.
Okay.
Open it up. Okay, Mark, I'd like to hear the comments of staff.
Yeah, I understand the need, line of sight and all that along the road, but I do have one concern. Given where you've located the new curb cut onto Rocket Dundee Road and understanding the turning radius that is required to get you over to the driveway from that location, that pushes you within 10 feet of the wetland that was delineated by Dave. And my question, Alan, is could the curb cut, the proposed curb cut, be moved slightly west of the location you're showing on the plan? You'll still have better line of sight, especially to the east, because I think I know the curve to the west, but I think the real issue with sliding this, a short distance would be line of sight to the east coming around that curve that you're showing on the plan specifically. That would do is that would allow you almost to straighten the road, the new driveway a little bit and possibly get a little farther away from that wetland. You're really tight. I know you're talking about cobblestone curb and all that, but it just seems to me that there's an alternative to keep that driveway away, a little farther away from the wetland while still achieving the goal. And I think the goal is very valid, and I'm not arguing the need. But I would almost want to move that. I see you're bouncing your cursor around. If you move that cursor right to there, that being almost the center line of the new roadway in, or the new driveway in, I think that would allow for a little bit better spacing between the edge of the proposed driveway and the regrading and the wetland proper. I think you're really just a little tight there. And I see an alternative that I think would work.
Okay, well, I will have to take a closer look at it, I think, and talk to Dave. And this is a scenic road. It's not particularly scenic in this location because there's not really a stone wall. I would, I'd have to look and see if there's any, particular specimen trees. I don't think there is. This stretch of frontage is not.
Either. I mean, I spent a little bit of time out there.
Yeah.
And I knew what you were trying to achieve. And again, I agree with what you're trying to achieve. I just think that there's an opportunity to move that, 10, 20 feet to the west.
Still, maybe what I could do is just shorten the apron and, pull the whole thing away from the wetlands further.
Well, that too. I mean, that bow goes in deep and then turns almost 90.
Yeah.
if you, and I don't know, because I mean, I know Dave's a contractor and he's got equipment that comes in and out. I didn't know if that radius was required for his equipment. But, and I know he's gonna be moving stone out of there based on, previous discussions. So that curve may be required. I don't know, but.
Yeah, I think it's recommended. It's not just him, Paul Mello, who lives at 523, also, delivers firewood and this sort of thing. So,
No,
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, so I think
that
I
way.
can I can request a continuance, and unfortunately it's gonna have to be Halloween. Because I'm gonna be gone on the 17th, but I think what I can do is just talk to Dave and maybe consider just shortening it or moving it, one or the other, because I understand what you're saying. You'd like a little more distance from the wetlands. So let me suggest that we continue till October 31st, because I may be able to talk to Dave and get something done. Actually, I'm leaving on Saturday for 2 weeks, so I may be able to get something resubmitted, but of course, I won't be here on the 17th. So I think it'd be prudent to request a continuance till the 31st, till I can have time to meet with Dave and possibly prepare a revised plan.
That makes some sense. Any commissioner have any question? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard this evening on this matter, understanding we will be voting on a request for a continuance? I don't see any, so I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until October 31st, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Second on that. We have a seconded motion, roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. That motion passes unanimously.
Is there recommended attire for that meeting?
Well, I would suggest that we don't go too outlandish, but you're certainly welcome to come in costume.
Harry Potter would be appropriate.
We're all coming as commissioners.
Just don't wear that old sweat-stained Detroit Tiger hat.
Okay.
Wear the new one, but not the old one.
Okay. Have a good evening. Take care.
too.
Talk to you soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Commissioners, we're moving on now to our items for discussion. Our first is bills, if there are any.
None.
That's easy. Then we have discussion items. I'll let you take over, Mark. We have interviews and the reschedule. Let's do the rescheduled first, just so we get it out of the way.
Sure. When we set up the schedule, we just cross-reference to town meeting. Fall town meeting is Tuesday, the 17th, 2023. You really can't have a board or commission meeting during town meeting, considering the fact that I've got to be at town meeting. We don't have somebody to substitute for me, and it's not recommended you do that anyway. Many of the agents for our clients are town meeting reps, so just a problem. So in talking with Mike, we determined, and I sent out, we did a quick straw poll. I know, Jim, you can't make Mondays, but that was the consensus day to reschedule the meeting. So we are rescheduling. I have already changed the Zoom link so that we can do it on Monday. We had to switch it from the one we had, but everything is all set up, and the agenda was updated to indicate that, and legal ads have been going out with the revised dates. So we are rescheduled for Monday, the 16th of October.
I think we'll entertain a motion to that effect. And I understand, Jim, you can't make it, and I'm sorry about that.
Me too. Sorry.
Nope, you've been you've been very consistent in your attendance, so this is an anomaly, and you were, to be fair, you said you couldn't make it. But it was, frankly, it was my call because I thought we had more commissioners that we had one more than we needed to have our quorum, so I felt a little more comfortable with that date. Anyway, having said that, I'll entertain a motion to change or reschedule our October 17th, 2023 meeting date to Monday, October 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Okay, Mark, go ahead with the interviews.
Hey, just to update you, we received probably about 42 resumes for a replacement candidate for Adam, many of which were unfortunately just out of school, certainly had the desire, but the conservation officer position demands a certain level of expertise before you start learning how to be a conservation officer. A lot of those candidates did not have it. So we shortlisted down to 5. We interviewed all 5 today. I think we have shortlisted our top 2 candidates. And now it's subject to, wage negotiation and things like that. I won't name them since they haven't been told yet, and I don't want to put it on the public airwaves. But nonetheless, we are moving forward with trying to get that position filled in as short an order as possible. The process can take upwards of a month to, from offer to actually sitting at the desk. So we're trying to expedite that as quickly as possible. So those are the 2 discussion items I have. I do have one enforcement issue that I wanted to bring your attention. I think I forwarded to you yesterday a report done by Brandon Fanuc, the Francis site. He went out and did the wetlands delineation work required for a disturbed site. And I think he's come up with a reasonable area that was pre-existing wetland that have been impacted. And in my email, which you were copied on, I indicated to him, I think it's now time for them to put together a restoration plan. Not that they're going to do anything about it this winter, but certainly coming into the spring, they need to be prepared to get this thing underway. But so I bring it to your attention only because we are making headway.
Okay.
Slowly but surely.
Well, I mean, I think
from a court order, but
well, it may have taken that, but I think we found the ball is starting to roll finally.
yes.
Be in someone's pocket.
I pride myself on trying to get these enforcement cases cleaned up.
Yeah, I know. And you've done a great job of it. We've got a lot of enforcement in the last couple of years, and a lot of progress has been made to get some of the old things straightened out. So I appreciate that. There anything else that anyone wants to bring up? I have no.
Just
Go
one, one point of order. Since we have to take a roll call vote, and we always have a proposer and a seconder, would the proposer and the seconder be considered voting yes, since they proposed it and seconded? And then you
Not
just have,
necessarily, no. A lot
that's
of
a question.
people will bring up a motion just so there's a decision that has to be made, and they could propose to grant a order of conditions, but they're going to vote nay. They just wanted to bring it up to a vote. Same thing goes with the seconding.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why we have to
understand.
do it
Okay.
anyway. In fact, I've actually seen that on a few occasions, not with this commission, but I've seen that on a few occasions with other boards. They bring it up for a vote just to deny it. Anyone else have a question or any concern or comment? If not, according to my watch, it's about 21 after, well, 26 after, I'm sorry. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
You have a seconded motion, roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously.